My name is Ethan Cole. On paper, I'm just an operations associate. That's what the badge says. But let's be honest. Everyone in the office knows me as the guy who doesn't really do anything. 9 o'clock sharp, I clock in, and that's where the routine ends. The second I sit down, I'm on my phone, thumbs flying, locked into another game like the rest of the world doesn't exist. From the corner of my eye, I can see Kevin, the intern, staring like he's watching a car crash. His voice shakes when he whispers, "Ethan, Dave is staring at you." But I don't even look up. Why would I? This team fight matters more right now. 15 feet away, HR manager David Miller is fuming, his bald head catching the office lights like a spotlight. And then it comes, the roar. "Ethan Cole." My ears ring with his voice. I finally look up, slow and casual. "Yeah, what's up, Dave?" His face twists. "You're playing games during work hours? The company pays you to work." I lock my screen, stretch like I just woke up from a nap, and say it flat. My work's done. That only makes him angrier. What have you even done all day besides play? I start ticking off on my fingers, calm as ever. The quarterly finance report last week. A new marketing proposal the day before yesterday. Fixed the company's server yesterday. Every word sharp, deliberate. David sneers like he doesn't believe a single syllable. And right on cue, chaos hits. Sarah from finance rushes over, panic in her voice. "Ethan, help! The tax filing system crashed. The deadline's tomorrow." David folds his arms, smug, waiting for me to fall flat on my face. I take her laptop, glance at the screen, type 3 lines of code, and hit enter. Done. 30 seconds, tops. Sarah's jaw practically hits the floor. "I spent all morning on this. How? How did you fix it that fast?" I shrug. Just a hidden bug. Easy tweak. David's face drains the green. And when Mr. Peterson, the general manager, strolls by, David leaps at the chance to throw me under the bus. "Mr. Peterson, Ethan's been gaming all day. He's a terrible influence." But Peterson barely slows down. He glances at me once, waves a hand, and says, "Ethan has his own way of doing things. Don't be so hard on him." Then keeps walking. The office freezes. David's mouth hangs open. And me? I lean back in my chair, fighting a smile, because nothing tastes sweeter than being untouchable. Her eyelashes fluttered at me, a little too sweet, as she asked, "So, do you like it?" I stared down at the food, burnt eggs, undercooked rice, and carrots carved into hearts, and shut the lid. A lethal injection would be quicker. Her cheeks flushed crimson. It's my first time cooking. And just like that, the entire office leaned in, hungry for the drama. By the afternoon meeting, Jessica had plopped herself into the chair beside me, purring my name like it was honey. "Ethan, are you free this weekend? Dad just bought a new yacht." I slid my chair an inch away. "Nope. Gotta catch up on sleep." She tried again. "Next week." I shook my head. Still sleeping. Across the table, David's eyes bulged like he was about to explode. "Miss Peterson, wasting time on a low-level employee like this." Jessica cut him down with a single glare. "Shut up. Who do you think you are?" The next morning, David slammed his palm on the table, seething. "The proposal you sent the client yesterday was complete gibberish." I raised my hands. "All innocence. You asked the client list, right? That's what I sent." And then, like fate itself had a sense of timing, Mr. Peterson burst into the room. "I just got word. Mr. Knight is increasing next year's budget by $20 million. Every eye turned to me. My phone screen still lit up, exposing my chat with Knight. Me. "But you don't have the guts to add another 20 mil. Knight, is that a challenge? Fine. But if I win, you call me daddy." Me. "Deal." The room went dead silent. David slumped in his chair. But before the tension could fade, Jessica strutted in and tossed a set of Porsche keys onto my desk. "Ethan, I bought you a car." The office erupted. I looked at the keys and muttered, "My gaming chair costs more than this." David wasn't done. He thought he'd outsmart me by sending me to a suburban warehouse to count inventory, mountains of it. I took one look, pulled out my phone and sent a single text. Half an hour later, Jessica appeared at the door, heels clicking, skirt short, smile dangerous. I'm here to help. She bent low on purpose. I stepped back. It's dusty in here, Miss Peterson. She whispered, I don't mind. I climbed higher up the shelves, as far away as I could. The very next day, the big pitch. Everything went to hell. Files missing. PowerPoint corrupted. The client list blank. David fumed, pointing at me. This is your fault. But I sat in the back, gaming on my phone, unbothered. Then the screen flickered. My phone had auto-sync to the projector. I fumbled to disconnect, but one wrong tap opened my cloud drive. The entire pitch deck data sheets, pricing strategy, all of it, flashed on the giant screen. The competitors turned pale. My team lit up. At the celebration dinner, I was drunk enough to let secrets slip, arm around an IT buddy, slurring about Mr. Knight being my raid leader in World of Warcraft. The room froze. Then I laughed about meeting other clients at poker tables in Vegas casinos. Mr. Peterson's glass slipped and shattered. David looked like he'd seen a ghost. And just when the tension hit its peak, Jessica jumped on stage, grabbed the mic, and screamed, I have an announcement. Ethan and I are... I lunged, yanked the power cord, and in the sudden blackout, tossed her over my shoulder and ran. The next morning, I walked into a boardroom full of directors. David's smile was wolfish. The evidence is irrefutable. Ethan has been manipulating clients for personal gain. Peterson's face was grim. Ethan, explain. I yawned, pulled out my phone, and dialed. Knight's voice thundered through the speaker. Who the hell dares to touch my boy? I'll pull every cent right now. The board shot to their feet. Mr. Cole, please have a seat. By Monday, the whispers had spread. Eyes followed me. Security guards flanked my desk as David barked. Ethan Cole, you're suspended for leaking company secrets. He dumped a stack of photos on my desk, me dining with clients. Peterson stormed out, demanding an explanation. I hit play on my phone. David's voice filled the room. As long as you give me Ethan's client files, I'll cut you $200,000. Gasps rippled through the office. David turned white. That's a deep fake. But I wasn't done. One click, and a group chat popped on the projector. The Takedown Ethan Task Force. David, the VP of Finance, the sales director. I leaned back, smiling. Funny thing is, I was in the group chat the whole time. And then, for the final blow, I opened a locked file. A video from years ago lit up the screen. Me, younger, negotiating with Peterson. I'll give you the capital injection to save this company, but in return, I get absolute freedom. The room went silent. Jaws dropped. And in that silence, everyone finally understood. Ethan Cole wasn't just dead weight. He was the reason the company was still alive. The office went from simmer to full boil in a heartbeat. Jessica kicked the door open like a scene cue, and behind her strode men in suits from the IRS. Dad, I found it, she cried. The proof of David's embezzlement clutched like a smoking gun. David's knees gave out, and he collapsed right there on the carpet. For a second, the room hung in a hush of someone dropping curtain. Mr. Peterson looked straight at me, like he'd been waiting for a final piece to fall into place. I shrugged, casual as always. His password was laughable. Love Money 123. The guards hauled a screaming David away, and I walked over, plucked the ID badge from his chest, and held it up. Now you're the one who's fired. Then I did the thing nobody saw coming. I announced afternoon snack was on me. Lobster rolls for everyone. The cheer nearly blew the roof off. Peterson called me into his office, all solemn and official. Starting today, he said, you're the vice president. I shook my head. He looked stunned. No. Why not? I said, smiling, my rental income outstripped the salary anyway. He blinked. Then what do you want? My eyes lit up. Turned David's office into a gaming room. Jessica, who'd been eavesdropping at the door, squealed, I'll be your assistant. The whole company cracked up, and that was the start of something gloriously ridiculous. On my first day as vice president, Mahogany was out and RGB was in. David's leather throne was swapped for a secret lab gaming throne. The mahogany desk became a rig with 3 monitors and a mechanical keyboard. Corporate dignity gave way to life-sized anime figures and a surround sound system that made First Blood sound like thunder. When Peterson pushed the door open, I was testing the speakers. "Ethan, this is a place of business." I didn't turn. "It's my lunch break." The speakers answered for me. First Blood blared through the suite. Jessica burst in carrying a stack of files and promptly asked if she could be my girlfriend. Office romance policy be damned. She'd have her dad change it if she had to. Mr. Knight, bless him, brought investors to tour the company specifically to see my innovative office space. They found me in a VR headset, blasting zombies, while Jessica fed me grapes. Knight roared with laughter. "Now this is how you live." Peterson's face went a strange shade of green. Then came the board's new rule: vice presidents must wear a business suit. Fine. I showed up in a $99 suit from Amazon with a printed-on tie, and Jessica laughed so hard she hiccuped. The next curveball landed like a brick. Finance screamed. $500,000 missing. Security footage pointed to my workstation. The board demanded answers. I tapped my phone, pulled up my transaction history, and deadpan announced it was an in-game purchase. My fingers slipped, somehow costing the company $500. The room went quiet. Then the servers went ballistic. 3 days later, the game we just acquired crashed under the crush of paying players. Profits doubled. The party that followed? Chaotic. Jessica hopped on a table and declared she was going to marry me. I sprayed wine. Peterson flipped, and everyone laughed until it hurt. The plot thickened. Someone had hacked a game ID tied to Jessica's account. Login traces led right back to my apartment. She tried to cover, claiming she'd been at my place to fix my computer, but I wasn't having it. Meanwhile, an anonymous email landed in my inbox. "Want to know who's screwing with you?" Attached was security footage of David sneaking into the data center, plugging a USB into the server rack. I laughed because the old bastard never learned. I started muttering in the break room about needing to talk to someone, not about the $500 million project. And sure enough, David slunk into my office that night like a rat. The moment he touched my keyboard, a giant message popped up across his screen. "Gotcha. UOD fart." Security burst in. He was mid-yank on a USB he shouldn't have touched. We screened David's confession in the conference room. He'd been taking kickbacks. Then, like a twist in a televised drama, I played a second tape. This one showed VP Anderson accepting a briefcase full of cash from a competitor. Peterson turned white with fury. "You're all fired," I told him, and the boardroom became a forensic circus. Just when the dust began to settle, Jessica fired off a company-wide email. Inauguration ceremony for VP Ethan Cole and our engagement party. The office went berserk. I considered vanishing, but then Peterson dragged me up to the roof with an offer that smelled like both bribe and bargain. 20% of the company, if I agreed to marry his daughter. I laughed and walked away. He shouted after me sweeter numbers. 30%, 40%, a year of paid vacation. The elevator doors shut, and I sent a one-line text a night. "Buddy, can I borrow your yacht? I need to make a run for it." At 3 a.m, I slipped down to... The marina was quiet at 3 a.m, the kind of silence that hums in your ears. I slipped through the shadows with nothing but a backpack on my shoulder, ready to vanish. Just like he promised, Mr. Knight's yacht waited for me, rocking gently against the pier. The key was tucked exactly where he said, under the third life preserver on the starboard side. For a moment, I thought I was free. But the second my foot touched the deck, the world exploded in light. Surprise. Confetti blasted across my face, and there she was, Jessica, standing in the cabin like a queen in her throne. Only this queen wore a wedding dress. Behind her, the entire company, cheering like it was the happiest day of my life. They shoved me into a chair, cameras flashing, my forced grin barely hiding the panic beneath. Mr. Peterson leaned in close, his whisper sharp as a knife. 40%. A deal's a deal. I shook my head. I didn't want shares. I wanted freedom. 50%, he countered, like I was nothing but another business negotiation. That's when it hit me. This was an engagement party. It was a hostage situation. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the air shifted. A hush fell over the yacht as a woman, in a razor-sharp Chanel suit boarded. Her presence alone turned champagne to vinegar. Glass slipped from Mr. Peterson's hand, shattering on the floor. His voice cracked. "You!" Jessica's scream cut him off. "Mom!" My jaw clenched. The ex-wife, the woman no one expected, walking in like a storm that had been waiting years to break. She sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "I hear you're trying to sell my daughter." In that instant, the whole charade crumbled. Deals, shares, engagements, none of it mattered anymore. What unfolded next wasn't business. It was war. The IRS walked in like stormtroopers, ready to tear everything apart, only to leave shaking my hand. "Mr. Cole, your company's books are the cleanest I've ever seen." The CFO muttered under his breath. "That's because he's too lazy to cook them." At the gala, Trouble came dressed as a spoiled heir from a rival conglomerate. He wouldn't stop circling Jessica, flashing his last name like it was currency. "Why waste your time at a small company? Come work for us." That's when I stepped in, slid my arm around my wife, and dropped a line that silenced the room. "Sorry, pal. She prefers small." Half the crowd choked on their champagne. The kid turned red. "Watch your back." The very next morning, his father dragged him into my office by the ear, forcing him to apologize. That's when Jessica finally confessed. The whole company, the empire I thought I built, it was all a test, a setup from her mother, to see if I was worthy of being her son-in-law. I dialed my mother-in-law in fury. "I want a refund." All I heard was ocean waves and her voice purring. "No refunds on the shares. Bye-bye." So I made my own announcement, a 1-month paid vacation for every single employee. The only rule? Post vacation photos daily to Mr. Peterson's Facebook. Still lounging in the Maldives, his phone buzzed with alerts. $100, 000 charge, $1,500,000 charge. Poor man nearly drowned in debt before his cocktail did. Fast forward a year. At the company party, I held my infant son and announced that profits had quintupled. The crowd went wild. Jessica leaned in, whispering, "Honey, baby number 2? My hand shook. The mic crashed to the floor, feedback echoing my panic. No more kids. But at 6 the next morning, Jessica's scream jolted me awake. "Honey, 2 lines." I stared at the pregnancy test, my heart pounding. Ethan Jr. tugged at my leg. "Daddy, I want a baby sister." Jessica smiled sweetly. "It's a girl this time." "I know it." I grabbed my calculator like a drowning man clutches a rope, formula, diapers, a bigger house. This wasn't family planning. It was financial ruin. By the time I got to the office, chaos was already brewing. Servers down. Mike from IT rushed in. I frowned. I didn't change the password. He sighed. "That's because the admin department turned the server room into a nursery." Over the intercom came Jessica's voice. "Surprise! Hired a Disney designer." The IT staff froze, their souls leaving their bodies. Peterson stormed back from his trip, his grin sharp as a Bond villain. "I hear I'm going to be a grandfather again." By the next morning, my office had been redecorated into a dad-to-be lounge. My monitors replaced with baby monitors, my walls plastered with parenting for dummies. A rival company tried to strike. While we were distracted, poaching managers left and right. Jessica waddled into their boardroom, belly first. "I hear you like poaching. Want me to give birth in your conference room?" Their CEO surrendered before the contractions even started. 1 week before the due date, we signed the biggest contract of our lives. After Jessica casually demanded they add a 0 to the end, they wired 10 times the deposit overnight. And then, outside the delivery room, I paced, palms slick with sweat. When the nurse emerged, she smiled. "Congratulations, Mr. Cole. It's a girl." Jessica grinned from the bed. "Told you." Back at the office, the lobby overflowed with gifts. LED lights spelled out, Welcome, Princess Chloe. The finance team showered us in gift cards. Even David Miller, exiled in North Dakota, FaceTimed in from an organic strawberry farm in my honor. One look at my daughter, tiny and perfect in my arms, and something shifted. Maybe being president, a husband, even a dad, wasn't so bad after all. But then came preschool. And nothing, not billion-dollar deals or hostile takeovers, had ever made me more nervous than standing at that gate, holding Chloe's little hand. "Daddy, that slide looks gross." She wrinkled her nose. I checked my watch. 10 minutes, sweetie. Daddy will fix it. One call to Mr. Knight later. The playground was already scheduled for a full renovation. That night, the parents' group chat exploded with outrage. Why does the new kid get special treatment? Meanwhile, Chloe had already reorganized her entire class and issued star ratings to every teacher. Deduction reasons included story time too slow. The director messaged me in a panic. I replied with a photo from our corporate retreat. Need early childhood consultants? Free of charge. At Family Day, Chloe flipped a lollipop into 3 toys, then resold them for $50. Jessica proudly posted, "That's my girl." I quietly called my financial advisor. Open a trust for Chloe. Start with $1 million. The very next day, Chloe asked me if she could invest in the cafeteria because they don't have enough snacks. And when a rival CEO's son tried to exclude her, calling us new money, I stroked my chin and smiled. "Chloe, let me show you what real money looks like." The next morning, every kid at preschool walked in wearing limited edition sneakers with Chloe's cartoon face on them, our latest brand. It all started with what seemed like just another day at the preschool. Mr. Peterson, out of nowhere, became the new president of the PDA and made his very first proposal. Fathers should take on daily pickup and drop-off duties. I glanced at my already jam-packed calendar, sighed, and shot a quick message to my assistant. By this preschool, problem solved. By the time the end-of-year show rolled around, my daughter Chloe had somehow taken command of the entire class. She wrote the script herself, a full-blown crossover event. Paw Patrol versus the Avengers. When the vice president's son cried over not being cast as Captain America, Chloe calmly assigned the role of one of Thanos' faceless minions. And when the VP stormed over afterward, face dark with frustration, I simply crouched to his son's level and asked, "So, what did you think of Chloe's directing?" His eyes lit up. "It was awesome. I get to be a bad guy again tomorrow." The priceless look on that VP's face was worth everything. Later on the ride home, Chloe suddenly declared, "Daddy, I want to start my own preschool." Jessica, ever the eager mom, whipped out her phone, ready to buy land on the spot. I had to gently place my hand over hers. "Let's have Daddy check the licensing laws first." And in the rear-view mirror, I caught sight of Chloe. Legs crossed, serious expression, looking like a miniature CEO. "Daddy," she said, "I think the company should pivot to the children's market." At breakfast the next morning, 5-year-old Ethan Jr. spread jam across his toast to the gravity of a man running a board meeting. 3-year-old Chloe poured half a carton of milk into my coffee and announced, "My brother is right." I stared down at my now pink coffee and asked, "Your reasoning?" Ethan slid a hand-drawn business plan across the table. "According to my market research, 90% of my classmates think adult toys are boring." Chloe chimed in, "And ugly." When I brought the two of them to the office, the staff scrambled like they were hosting royalty. The IT team threw together a Lego robotics class. Finance converted the quarterly report into cartoons. Even the janitors put on Peppa Pig aprons. Ethan, unimpressed, sniffed, "Too childish. We should be discussing the AI-powered parenting bot." Meanwhile, Chloe had already claimed my executive chair, swinging her legs. "This seat is pretty comfortable." Rivalry sparked everywhere. Mr. Thompson bragged about his son winning a piano competition, only for Chloe to sit at the lobby grand piano and rattle off Flight of the Bumblebee without missing a note. Ethan leaned back, calm as ever. "My sister learned that when she was 3. She's moved on to quantum physics." Thompson's son melted down in front of everyone, begging to transfer her to our family. From that day forward, The kids became entrepreneurs. Ethan founded EJ Tech, specializing in coding classes for kids. Chloe launched Chloe Entertainment, focused on toddler reality shows. Within 3 days, every kid at the preschool wore homemade employee ID badges, and the director called me in tears. Mr. Cole, they've organized a strike against nap time, and it only escalated. By Sunday, Ethan was reporting profits from ghostwriting thank you notes. Chloe was waving wads of cash from correcting homework, and Jessica calmly proposed a 50% commission for household expenses. The kids slammed the table in unison. Objection! This is a sweatshop. The preschool turned into an entrepreneurial battlefield. Ethan's spoon-feeding robot won most innovative, while Chloe's Antonap alliance snagged most popular venture. Thompson's poor kid just ran in circles, holding a cardboard sign, seeking investors. And in the car ride home, while my children argued about which company would go public first, Jessica turned to me with a smile. Maybe we should have another one. A referee. I nearly swerved when she added, or 3 more. That way, we could form a proper board of directors. The morning she slapped the pregnancy test on my face, I was surrounded by 5 miniature executives debating blockchain allowance distribution. When she whispered, "It's triplets," the tab in my hand, displaying Ethan's new sibling equity plan, slipped to the floor. Ethan slammed his juice box like a seasoned investor. Objection! This is hostile stock dilution by Mommy. Chloe immediately seconded the motion, and just like that, my household had turned into the wildest corporate takeover in history. Even the office wasn't safe anymore. HR begged me, "Mr. Cole, please, we can't install a ball pit in the main conference room." I raised an eyebrow. Why not? After all, the chairman had already slipped in it twice. And so, somewhere between AI-powered baby monitors, board meetings run by 8-year-olds, and a family that treated new siblings like IPOs, I realized this wasn't a household anymore. It was an empire. Between baby cries and hungry alerts, the nanny tried everything. White noise, lullabies, but soon even she was outnumbered. That's when Chloe stepped in, founding her own baby daycare service. She set her rates with CEO precision, $5 per minute for standard rocking, $10 for express. And if the crying lasted more than 3 minutes, a 20% discount. Ethan Jr., never one to be outdone, went bigger. He created a diaper moisture detection app, $19.99 a month, subscription only. His very first customer, the entire Thompson family. Meanwhile, poor Grandpa Peterson sat trembling in his armchair, tea sloshing in his hands as 8 grandchildren stormed his house, including 3 still unborn. "You people," he muttered. But before he could finish, Chloe slipped him a crisp business plan. "Grandpa, it's not too late to invest in stroller companies." That very afternoon, Peterson signed papers acquiring 3 of the biggest baby product brands on the market. Mr. Thompson, still trying to keep pace, brought his grandson over for a visit, only for the boy to be swarmed by 5 tiny executives. "Would you like to invest in our diaper project?" they asked in unison. "Buy in now and you'll receive pre-IPO founder shares. Refuse, and we'll make your grandson our mascot." Terrified, the boy signed an employment contract on the spot, 3 lollipops a month as salary. That night, Jessica turned to me in bed, her voice deceptively casual. "After all this, do you want any more?" My eyes shot open. Don't tell me. Heart racing. I grabbed my phone and dialed the local hospital. "Doctor, is it too late to schedule a vasectomy?" The answer came like the final twist in a Netflix season finale. "Mr. Cole, I'm afraid your wife acquired our hospital this afternoon.